I've talked about this a little bit about the customer being in control, but you have to love thy customer. Your customer is the lifeblood of your district. Your students, your teachers, your parents. Those are your customers. And we know brands are based on experiences. And unfortunately, those experiences can be from your worst frontline secretary that is always in a bad mood and talks to your parents when they walk into your school every day, to the best, huge performing school that graduates 100% of people and they all go to college. Your brand is based on those experiences. Now, when someone walks into your building, what experience are they going to have? When they're looking at your social media, what experience are they going to have about your brand? It's going to dictate a lot of what they're going to communicate to their friends and what they're doing. So the first thing you need to do is to be engaging on social media. And what I mean by that is you can't just put a post out there and think it's going to grow organically and nothing's going to happen to it. You have to interact with your audience. You have to grow that content to make it shareable and to let people know it's out there. The best way to do that is to respond to comments. If you're going to be engaging, like I said, be responsive, interact. If they're not leaving comments, leave a question in the comments to get them talking. You want those comments and those shares because that algorithm is going to be broken from Facebook if you do those types of things. Also on Instagram, Facebook owns Instagram, Twitter's the same way now. Everything's based on this algorithm. The more shares that are out there, the more comments, the more your content is going to spread through the social media platforms. And I would say, stop broadcasting. People want personalization. They want that more one-to-one interaction. So when someone asks a question about your pre-K program, make sure that you answer that as quickly as possible. You need to narrow that down to see what they're really interested in. What are they really asking for? Which brings me to my next one is you have to know your audience. Rule number 2 under Love Thy Customer, know your audience. Because every one of your parents, every one of your teachers, every one of your students is going to be different. What they like, what their problems are, what they're going through on a day-to-day basis. You need to know everything about your customer and build content around those problems. I'll give you an example of what happened in our district. We were making a push a couple years ago for kindergarten enrollment. We wanted to boost kindergarten enrollment. And what we thought was, all right, we're going to put all these great programs out there. We're going to talk about our gifted program, our great different things that are happening in our schools. But then when we started surveying, I went out and surveyed preschool parents. I went out and had roundtables with them. We did online surveys. What we found out, their number one thing is, it didn't really matter much about are they going to learn to read, are they going to learn math. It was, I hope my child has a loving teacher and that I am not confused when I drop off my kid for carpool on the first day. So what we did is we sort of flipped the narrative on our campaign, and we did a Facebook Live called Kindergarten Live, and we gathered questions, all those questions that came in, and we answered those important questions on a Facebook Live roundtable. So we utilized social media to push the message out there. We didn't push out, oh, we have an excellent program, come register for kindergarten. We said, what are your problems? What are your concerns about kindergarten? And we're going to help you navigate those really, really hard waters of letting your child, first time, go to school and do the things they're going to do. So we had things from like, when's carpool pickup? Can I sit with my kid at lunch? What do they do as a typical day? Do they get to go to the bathroom? Do I need to pack them water? All that kind of stuff. So like I said, it flipped the narrative. If we didn't ask our customers, we would have just pounded, they teach reading, they teach math, yeah. But instead we helped solve problems. We got people to trust us more as the expert for kindergarten education. It helped out quite a bit. And I always recommend when you're trying to figure out your audience is do an audience persona. Sometimes they're called buyer personas. This is actually the back of the book of that top triggers that's up there. But you can also find it if you just say buyer persona HubSpot. If you Google that, buyer persona HubSpot, you will have all different types of worksheets to fill this in. This is vital to know your audience. Because when you know your audience, the trust level goes through the roof. They're not going to trust someone that sells to them all the time. They're going to trust somebody that is solving their problems and that they feel is an expert in the field of education. So really, it's all about building trust with your community and your customers. Building trust is going to solve so many of your problems on social media and so many of your problems of marketing because you're caring, you're trusting. And I don't know how many people attended Jackie and Laura's presentation, the professors from TCU and the CPC program, but they said word of mouth is so very important these days. So if you continue to build up trust, you're going to get that word of mouth. And can you believe 83% of people buy products and services and choose schools because of what their friends and families told them? It's not a billboard, not a newspaper ad. It's experiences. It's those people telling the next generation of students coming in, the parents. So, funny story I'll say really quick. I grew up in the 80s and early 90s, and the 80s dads at the baseball games when I was playing, Little League Baseball, all the dads would have the big, clunky VHS cameras, right? So instead of just filming it real quick with your smartphone and getting clips of individual at-bats and things like that, dads would film everything from the car to the end of the game, getting the Coke at the end of the game, all right? So I'd see my dad walking in the grass, talking to my mom, things like that. But the funny thing, going back and watching those videos, we recently converted them digitally. The funny thing about watching those videos is the dads were all, you hear this. And what were the moms doing in the stands? They were, can you believe that teacher did this? Or can you, my son's in the gifted program. Can you believe that? Because he scored high. It was all word of mouth communication. Some of it was bad, some of it was good, a lot of it was gossip. But if you train your people and get a trusting environment in your school using social media, your parents are going to do word of mouth that's going to be positive more than negative. So really think about that. 83% of decisions are made on word of mouth. Why? Because it's hyper relevant. Your friends are going to tell you exactly what you need to hear. You're not going to go shuffle through an ad or a website and find out the information. They're going to tell you exactly what you wanted to hear about a certain program, what their experience with their child was, all that kind of stuff. It also saves time. Nobody has time anymore. Nobody has time. I want to go to my friend, call him up real quick. Hey, your kid was in this program, right? What'd you think about it? I'm not going to be like, okay, so we take this tour and we go here. First thing I'm going to do is call. If I get a bad report, it's where it stops, right? I'm not sending my kid there. Then, if I get a positive thing, I might pursue those next steps in the marketing funnel. But most of the time, it starts right here. It's going to save me time. If I get a bad comment, someone had a bad experience, cuts it off right there. And then they're independent, right? They're not going to be biased. And they might be biased if they had a horrible experience, but you're going to know they had that horrible experience. They're not anyone associated with the district. They're not an employee that's paid to push out the message out there. They are someone that's going to be your friend, a trusted source. So it's going to be very, very independent. So I ask you, as I finish up this first section, who would you rather trust? Your mom, your friends, your BFF, BFF, and a salesman. A lot of our parents, when we're pushing out some of the stuff that we're pushing, that we're putting out the message that we're putting out, a lot of our parents feel that we're this person right here. Because a lot of them had bad experiences in school. They might have gone to the principal, they might have gone, didn't have a good science class. So if the science, there are some districts pushing out the stuff, our programs were great, our programs are great, our programs are great. Are they really going to believe this, or are they just going to think we're a salesman? So really think about that as you're putting out stuff on social media. Number 2, influencers. These are becoming huge influencers. They're helping. They're the trusted. They're the people what people believe in. But I'm not talking about Kylie. You pay her $250,000 to do an Instagram post about, whatever ISD. That's probably not going to be a good return on investment. It might be funny. It might work. You never know if these big districts have big money, but that's really not going to work. You don't need a celebrity to throw out your content. You don't need an A-lister. You don't need a C-list star of Dawson Creek, James Vanderbeek, to help you out. You need the micro influencer. Micro, that's key, micro. Who in your community is influential? When someone shares your content, you've seen the analytics. It goes through the roof. More and more people share it because that one person shared it. It could be a PTA mom. It could be a mommy blogger in your community. If you just search Mommy Bloggers Dallas, I'm sure it's the same way Mommy Bloggers Austin, Mommy Bloggers Houston, you're going to see 1 million people with like 1 million followers. One of those might be the right fit for you. I'm really big into content marketing. If they share things of content that's helping the parents, helping the students, that could be a big bonus for you. So influencers are not necessarily celebrities, but I guess they're local celebrities. When someone says something, they listen. And these could be your teachers. You would be amazed if you looked at some of your teachers. They have tens of thousands, sometimes 100,000 followers on social media. We have a former Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. She has a huge following. We use her in a lot of our stuff that we do, a lot of our campaigns. We have a student that his job, his part-time job, is to go out to Quinceañeras, and he sings at these events. He's become really, really well known around Dallas. He has 75,000 followers on Instagram. And they're all students. They're all people that are following him. And you can really, really take on a student group by using him or someone like him in your district to get on social media and do some of it and spread your contents. Because basically what an influencer is doing is they're fueling your content. You put shareable content out there, and then you have an influencer that's going to grasp a hold of that and share it on their platform, or wear one of your shirts that has a hashtag on it, or do a pop-up video that says, hey, did you know they're having this event in downtown Dallas this weekend? Come check it out. Those influencers are going to make a big impact on the amount of shares you have, the comments. It's going to fuel your content and take it to the next level. Which brings me to using teachers. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but this is number 3. I think this is going to be the next biggest thing when it comes to social media marketing in school districts. You need to develop the personal brand of every one of your teachers and your administrators. Not only is it going to help them grow, what do most millennials and Generation Z want from a job? They want growth. They want to grow as a leader. They want to grow as someone that's represented in the district. It's going to help out in those regards, but it's also going to help out because here's the big secret. Some board members might look and say, okay, then why are we all here? The big secret is most parents, I'm going to say most because there's some faction that's like die hard, but most parents are not really all into the school district as a whole. They care about where their child is at that exact moment and what teacher they are there every day that's going to be loving, that represents them on a daily basis. They don't really care that, hey, the district got top in whatever. But if there are students involved in that, they'll care. But really deep down, they care about the moment they are in school and the bubble they are in each day. Is their student succeeding? Is their classroom the best it can be? Is their teacher the best on the campus? That is what they care about. Now, they're transitioning from elementary to middle to high. They're going to have some interest, and you're going to have to, of course, market those programs to them. But a 3rd grader, you need to concentrate on that teacher and creating the best experience that you can with that teacher, because that's who they see every day. That's who the parents have contact with. That is who they want to interact with. It's all about trust, again. And it also humanizes your brand. Instead of just putting out general statements for your district, if you have a teacher do it and talk about what they're doing in the classroom, the parent is going to see that. Remember what I said, try to narrowcast, send it out to all her students. What's the first thing a parent's going to do when they see the picture of their student building a robot on social media?
Sure.
They're going to share it, right? Because that's the proudest thing that a parent can get throughout the day. We're an opt-out district, and to tell you the truth, there's some people that have opted out, and some of them didn't know what they were doing. And if we don't feature their kids, we get more complaints about kids not being in pictures than we do about kids that have accidentally been in pictures. People want, I mean, that's the whole society is based on social media. You want to be seen, you want to know. It was TSPRA, my first one, I guess it was in Baltimore. A group, a consulting group went out there and they said the number one top thing that parents care about their kids' education is looking like competent parents to other parents. They want to know that they're in the best program, the best classes, so the more you share that they're doing that, the more you share that their teacher is the best, it's going to kick that sharing, that commenting, and that just growth of your content to go everywhere. Because people are 8 times more likely to listen to an influencer than a brand, if you can believe that, an influencer. That's why people are paying Kylie Jenner and the Kardashians $500,000 to tweet something, or Instagram, things like that. Influencers do work, but you got to be careful. You don't want to just do it to do it. You got to have a reason, and you got to have the right person doing that content or that fueling of your content. Next, students. Now, Generation Z. They're all over social media. They've actually never lived in a time without social media. It is big to them. They're a little bit different, though. Generation Z is going to help you spread your content, but they're also called the pivot or pivotal generation because they're pivoting away from what the millennials are actually doing right now. They've seen their older brothers and sisters, they've seen society, and they do not want to go down that same path as millennials. I know we've heard a lot about millennials, but what's the difference really between a millennial and a Gen Z? And Gen Z are going to be pretty much all of your students right now, and they're about to get out in the workforce, and you can believe it. So that's going to be a whole other ball game. You're going to have to work with your HR to come up with a marketing plan to really tackle the Gen Z population. They're not like millennials. You can see some of the big things that happened during the millennials' time compared to what's happening during Generation Z. Millennials grew up somewhat in the 80s. They saw the go-go 80s. Some of them are like, yeah, rock on, my dad, Wolf of Wall Street, yeah, let's party. Some of them saw some of the recessions where they saw their parents lose 2 or 3 jobs. So there's actually 2 different categories, like the go-go 80 millennials and the recessionist millennials. So they're a little bit different. The recessionist millennials are a little bit more like Generation Z. But here, you can see they had 9/11, Columbine, so they've gone through that. But the Generation Z's live in a society where domestic terrorism and terrorism has been a thing of life. They see it on the news every day, didn't have to really worry about it. You know, a lot of things have become more acceptable in their society. They're more of a diverse culture. But they are very, very scared because they've seen all these risk takers and these people like YOLO, is that what it was? YOLO, and put it out there where they put everything on social media. Generation Z is a lot more scared about the risk of that happening. They've been banged over your head. You guys have helped. Like, boom, you're not going to get into college. You put stuff on social media. Boom, if you go to spring break, you're never going to get a job. Boom, you know, they are listening to that because they're scared to death. They're really big on conserving money. They want a good job, and they don't want anything that's going to risk that. So they are a little bit different. They're private. They actually post stuff on Instagram, and then take it down if they think it's too public, or they take it down if they don't get enough likes, too, which is crazy. Millennials just post whatever. My dog ate a donut that fell on the floor. But they are more like, oh, my friends didn't like that? Okay, see ya. So they're just completely different, the pivotal generation. So what are they looking for on social media? Instant gratification. They want stuff answered right now. They want their stuff out there. You can't wait a day. If your court team, your mock trial team won state, you can't wait till next week to post that, right? They want it now. They want to show off to their friends now because it's going to lose its value. They want it out there. They want to be able to have it instantaneously. That's why Instagram stories have become so important for districts. It's something that's in the moment. Live videos become big because it's in the moment. Which brings me to my next thing. Be authentic. That's why they like Instagram stories. Because you just have a camera out there and you are not trying to gloss it all up. You're not trying to have some slick marketing campaign. They want to go and see the true self of what the district is really about. They want to see themselves in a true light. They don't want to hide behind the millennial, like, yeah, everything's cool. You know, they don't want to do that. They want true, authentic type posts, but they also want privacy. This is where it becomes a little bit difficult. They're going to be a little bit more apprehensive to share. But some of our biggest boosts in social media followings and engagement have come from social media takeovers on Instagram. I have an article on my blog about this, about how you can start Instagram takeovers. It has actually boosted our numbers quite a bit on Instagram. We're a fairly new Instagram district, but anytime we give it over to the cheerleaders during homecoming, or we give it to the band people for the opening kickoff of a football game, or we give it has exploded our growth. Sometimes 24 hours we'll get 600, 700 new followers. Just from those people. And the interactions will get 400 likes or shares. And then this great thing about stories is you can do sticker polls and they can really get some feedback from your students and all that kind of stuff like that. It really works. Because they're involved and they're being authentic. And then FOMO, they're constantly checking their phones. So don't slap them with a ruler on the hand. Oh, wait, that's my wife's school. Don't be mad if they're always checking their phone. It's like a hit. It's probably better than taking drugs, right? So you don't want them smoking up in the classroom. You can have them look at their phone every once in a while. But they're constantly checking their account. How many likes do I have? How many people are sharing my content? Oh my gosh, they put a bad comment about me? I need to take that down as possible. I need to go out, Such and such broke up with me on Snapchat? Are you kidding me? So you gotta, cut them a little bit slack, but they're gonna be your next promoters, your next influencers that are really gonna put you out there. Facebook for them is not really dead because this generation is more connected to their parents than ever before. They trust their parents more than anybody on the planet. It's different than millennials. It started gravitating that way a little bit, but Generation Z loves to hang out with their parents. Can you believe that? They like to get advice from their parents. So Facebook is still a tool that they're on. They're not engaging, they're not posting content, but they're scrolling through to see what's going on in their family's lives and what's happening. But my theory is as soon as someone gets engaged, goes on a cool trip, meets their BFF they haven't seen in 5 years in Washington, D.C., they're going to be on Facebook. They're going to want to post it. They're going to want to brag, things like that, just like our parents. They're always going to be on there. I know there's been a lot of data breaches and things like that. They're always going to be on there. Twitter, this is more of an information source for them. They find a lot of their news content this way, things like that. I do have a theory, though, that I think a lot of school districts are blinded by Twitter. We don't see that much engagement being driven back to from our call to actions on Twitter anymore, going back to our websites, going back to our content, going back to our stuff. It's more of just an informational grab, and they don't really do much with it. But I think a lot of districts are blinded for it because it's working so well for teachers. To put out professional development and to put out different articles and to interact with Twitter chats. But are our students really doing that same thing our teachers are? A lot of people are like, on Twitter, our teachers are doing awesome. That's awesome for your teachers, but are your students really making an impact with Twitter? Look at your analytics. It's the best way to find out. Google Analytics is free. You can see where all your traffic's coming from. Instagram, I already talked about their hardcore Instagram. They're moving a lot from Snapchat to Instagram. Instagram just overtook Snapchat to be the #1 profile for teenagers. They're putting a lot of content on there. Like I said, stories. We always have big interaction on the stories with our groups. We're always seeing a lot of likes from our students and young parents on Instagram. Then Snapchat, they're still on there. What we do is we don't really necessarily have a presence on Snapchat, except we do geo-filters at big events. So what we do is we go into Snapchat, and they have a way where you can purchase, they're usually pretty cheap, you can draw a line around any school, any map, any stadium, and you can set up a geofilter. So on homecoming games, we put homecoming 2018, go Creekview, or go Newman Smith, or go Ranch View, and we put the school name on there, and you're not going to believe, we're in the 20 to 30,000 usage of those. That's how many people see those logos, and people from other school districts see those logos. So those geofilters really, really work. We do it for graduation. Any big event, we put a geofence around the building we're in, and people use that a lot. Say about a 75% usage rate. And if you're looking for inspiration, these companies are doing it really, really well with Generation Z. They're really knocking it out of the park. Their social media content, the way they're branding their campaigns, even the colors they're using, the wording they're using. These companies do a really, really good job. So I would definitely check these out. I'd also go to, like, if you're in, your head's just blocked, you can't think of any more graphic design ideas, things like that, go to Forever 21 and Urban Outfitters, I'm telling you. You might have to blind your eyes on a couple stuff, when it's summer season, things like that. But the colors they use, the way they do the wording, things like that, it's trendy. It's what's working. I steal a lot of my stuff from those people.